Hello everyone, this is Kaylee from Nerdy Birdie Adventures, and I'm here today to bring you my very first Ramble in the Brambles video. And just like it says on the can, I'm just gonna ramble about something. I'm using these videos kind of as a way, I suppose, to get used to talking on and to the camera. I realize I've made a whole bunch of videos, but I'm still trying to get myself more comfortable with, you know, actually speaking. But yeah, so my subject for today, as you can probably tell from the title of the video, is why I think keeping a journal is important. So I don't have a script for this. I'm still not kind of good with the scripting process, and as obviously Ramble in the Brambles, I'm gonna try and stay on point, but I apologize if I get off a little bit, but that's kind of the point, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, so I think in the age of social media, it is incredibly important to keep a journal. And the main reason why I think this is because I feel like there are certain aspects, certain things that we kind of need to keep to ourselves. I think oversharing is a huge problem, and it is essentially a snake that eats its own tail. It is a problem that will only exacerbate itself as it continues. It's not that I think that you shouldn't be able to seek out comfort online. I think it's kind of normal to want to, you know, seek out comfort, to seek out, you know, validation, whatever, from other humans. And I think with how we are connected via social media now, social media feels like the way to do it, I guess. And I think that's normal. I don't necessarily think that's a huge problem in and of itself, but there are times where it becomes a problem. I think there are times where you might be going through something, and if your initial response is to pick up a camera and film yourself, I think that trying to think my words, it's not always going to play out in the way that you kind of want it to, and that's why I think journaling is so important. Now, I have a traveler's notebook. I keep journals on everything. Like I have notebooks out the wazoo, right? So when I say journaling, I literally mean putting pen to paper or putting fingers to keyboard. But when I say fingers to keyboard, I mean in a place that is not going to be seen by anyone but you, or maybe someone you really, really trust. You know, someone not seen by the general public, I guess. And I think that we've kind of lost control of our inner monologues a little bit, I think, to the point where they're not inner anymore. And I genuinely think that's, again, it's becoming a problem, because I think it's affecting people's empathy. And again, this is just my thoughts, but I think that people are a lot less sympathetic to, for example, people crying online than, you know, now than they were maybe, you know, 5 years ago, or back when social media kind of was at its start. And again, I think that's because people share things for sometimes the wrong reason. And this isn't me, like, I'm also one of those people where I don't think I could film myself crying on camera. I just don't think I could. And I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong to film yourself crying on camera, but there have been some instances where it feels as though this should have been something you wrote in a journal instead of posted on a public platform. And I can't, well, actually no. I suppose really what kind of gave me the idea of sitting down and making this video was Swell Entertainment's video on kind of people posting TikToks, where it's kind of like, okay, to everyone else, you are not in the right here, and these things should have just been kept private. And again, I think that's where journaling is super important, because I think for any situation, if it's stressful or upsetting, I think sitting down and writing out your thoughts and thinking through them is a better thing to do than taking yourself on a public platform at the outset of the upset, if that makes sense. Because a situation can be deeply upsetting to you, and I think that is valid. However, just because it's deeply upsetting to you does not mean that the public at large, whoever is going to see this video, is going to feel the same way, and that has the potential for making the situation a lot worse. If it's a situation you feel you want to talk about, then journal it. Write your thoughts out, let yourself calm down, and then bring it to a public platform. Because here's the thing, when you post to a public platform, even if your stuff's on private, like, there is a potential that it could be seen by anyone. And I think a lot of people in the pursuit of virality and kind of stuff like that have forgotten that. And I think some people kind of don't think, when they post things, they don't necessarily think that it could blow up in the way that it ends up doing. And again, I think this is why journaling is so important. Journaling for me anyway is a way of just getting my thoughts out of my head, and if I read them back to myself, I can, how do I describe it? I can contextualize, I don't think that's the right word, but the word I'm going to use. I can contextualize those thoughts in a different mindset, if that makes sense. Like, once I can step back from the heightened emotions that I was feeling when I wrote the post, I can kind of see, you know, maybe other perspectives on it that I wouldn't have seen when I was really upset, if that makes sense. And again, I think this is why journaling, again, I'm going to keep saying it, this is why journaling is important, because it's just, you don't have to detail your day, you don't have to be super aesthetic, you don't have to show anyone your journal. And that's the thing, I think, again, with the rise of social media and people posting like these gorgeous aesthetic journals, it sometimes takes away from what journaling kind of is, and that's just documenting things, I guess. And I think that's, you know, again, why it's important, is because document how you felt in the moment, and then you can kind of come back to it and reflect on it, and then maybe you will not have to deal with kind of a situation that makes things so much worse. And I understand reacting in a moment. Now here's the thing, I'm also going to include in here kind of video journaling, I guess, because vlogging is a thing, right? So I understand people who maybe articulate words better through speech than they do through writing, and I think that's great. But again, if you are in a heightened state of emotion, make the video, film yourself like explaining what's happening, explain your feelings, all of that good stuff, but don't post it. Like sit on that video for a couple of days, or whenever you are in a better headspace, and look back on it and be like, oh, because you might realize you were saying something that is not going to be perceived the way that you thought it would be in the moment, I guess, when your emotions are super, super high. And I can't really say this is an advice video, because again, I'm the kind of person who is getting used to filming, who's getting used to talking to a camera and actually kind of putting myself out there in ways beyond just like photos and silly little videos, I guess. But I also think that journaling lets you unclog a lot of, if you're somebody who has a lot of thoughts like I do. And again, this video probably comes off super, like, pretentious, I guess, or self-important, but I can only speak to my own experience. I can't speak to anybody else's experience, so that's why it's coming from a very personal perspective, I suppose. But yeah, and I think that if you're somebody like me who thinks a lot, like I am always, there's always something rattling around in my brain. I don't get a lot of peace from my thoughts. Having somewhere to come back to them and reflect on them is very important to me. So that's one of the reasons why I journal. Now don't be wrong, I journal for other reasons. I scrapbook, I travel journal, I do all of that good stuff. And again, I do think that social media has kind of made journaling seem intimidating, I guess. But again, journaling is for you. Like, that's probably the best advice I've ever seen when it comes to journaling. Like, journaling is for you. It's not for anyone else. It doesn't have to be a public thing. If you need somewhere to just filter through your thoughts, all you need is a notebook and a pen, or if you prefer, you know, I also do some journaling on my tablet with a keyboard or on my computer. Like, however you prefer to write is how you can journal. You know, it doesn't have to be pen and paper. It can be, like, say, sitting down with a camera and just venting at the camera. But you have to, I think the best way to go about journaling is that it is your private thoughts that are just for you. And it doesn't have to be for anyone else. And I think that we, as a people who use social media and who are connected in this way, I think we should kind of come back to that a little bit, in the sense that I think there are some thoughts that just shouldn't be made public. And I think people have kind of forgotten that. So yeah, so this is my little ramble on why I think journaling is important, and my kind of thoughts on oversharing online, I guess. But yeah, so I will probably make more of these little rambling videos because I just like to talk sometimes, but I'm in a clear headspace, so that's why I'm rambling. And it's just a case of, if anyone else feels the same way, hopefully that's helpful to you. But yeah, so I'm just gonna leave it as that. If you like this video, you know, like it. If you don't like it, then dislike it. I don't really mind either way. And until next time, take care of your mental health and stay safe, my friends. Bye.